Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Vyvyan Hammond, titled Hunter Gathered. And if we switch over to here, I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. Vyvyan Hammond's second single, Hunted Gathered. So this is their second single, and we're gonna listen through this track from start till finish, and we're gonna hear what we think. Let's do it, let's go, got it on YouTube. Immediately very intense with the cello. I like the art style of the video.
It's a little while after 3, a little while since you left. 3 weeks for the medication to settle, put my heart to rest. 3 miles from the darkest place, just like Eve and Villanelle, like Hecate and Hades. 3 tons of dirt from hell. I'd like to say that you are different. You're at least my third narcissist. We were never one of a kind. I wish I could get off this list. The one where you're the haunter, and I'm the one you missed. Your will kept you coming, kept you the protagonist. And I'm just a support actor, damsel to be used. My suffering is no factor in this game of the abused.
Really intriguing sound design there. I love the overall feel of it.
My victim of your circumstance, gather up the pieces you broke. 3 months to learn the dance, to use the words I spoke. And now you have a trophy of the spiky metal kind. My bleeding heart cut out for your little pantomime. I'd like to say that you were different. You're at least my third narcissist. You were never one of a kind. I wish I could get off this list. The one where you're the haunter, and I'm the one you missed. Your will kept you coming, kept you the protagonist. And I'm just a support actor, a dancer to be used. My suffering is no factor in this game of the abused. 300 drinks on your rider, 256. 3 months to say I love you, 23 years on the list. 3 months on this tour, lay me pretty on the stage. 3 minutes in your bed, then a lifetime in your cage. I'd like to say that you were different. You're at least my third narcissist. We were never one of a kind. I wish I could get off this list. The one where you're the haunter, and I'm the one you missed. Your will kept you coming, kept you the protagonist. And I'm just a support actor, a damsel to be used. My suffering is no factor in this game of the abused. My suffering is no factor.
Good layering, yeah.
Game of the abused.
It's a very delicate vocal style. There's a lot of high end into it. I do like it. It's very gentle. It's a really interesting track. I feel like they should. It's criminal that they've only got 17 views on this video. They should have a lot more attention than this. I feel like a lot of work has been put into this, both this video as well as the music. I really do hope they get lots of support on this track. Just from the outset, this is probably going to be quite a positive review on my part. But we're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. And so welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Vyvyan Hammond, titled Hunter Gathered, where we're going to talk about a few things that I quite liked or appreciated about the track, as well as any applicable constructive critique and my final thoughts on it as from like a listening perspective. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? I think that this song is about someone who's gone through some horrific abuse. They've gone through some really terrible times with someone who, you know, it was a game of the abused, right? They treated these people poorly, and I think this is maybe about the realization of who this person was to them and how they were running through the woods just to get away with it, no matter how much. They just continue to be chased by this person, just trying to come to terms with it, whilst also trying to maintain distance. And I just feel like there's going to be an audience of people who can relate to this, which is really sad. Clearly people shouldn't be abused. It's important music to make so that people know they're not alone, I suppose. But I'm sorry to hear that Vyvyan Hammond went through this. Outside of just a genuinely heartfelt and creatively told story, I think that one of the things that's done so well here is the very measured tone of the vocals throughout the piece. We have someone who is comfortable with their diatonics discussions, the melodies, etc., the bluesy kind of like intonations of things. But what they do really neatly is they are very constant. It's like they're writing a story or writing a letter to someone. They're trying to sort of like keep things measured, I think, maybe because of the weight of how it's affected them. Or maybe they've just got enough distance now to be able to talk about it that way. Or maybe it's kind of affected them so much that they don't even know how to feel about it. I mean either way, it's kind of chilling. You can kind of hear the pain in their performance, even though it's not a visceral, aggressive response to it. You wouldn't blame them for being angrier than they would be about it, but like it's just the kind of the higher sort of like there's like a kind of a chilling tone to it, and I dig that. I think it's a really interesting way to tell the story from an expression or motive perspective. I feel like we hit the notes really cleanly, and because of the consistency with the dynamics of the actual intensity of performance, the instruments around us are able to do a lot more because they're not having to worry about being sort of like having to allow more space for it. It's really good songwriting as well in that respect, I suppose. I think there was double tracking as well of the vocals for certain parts, which just added a nice amount of body to them that kind of gave them added presence within the mix. I think the instrumental choice in this track is also really neat. So we have the cello, the low range strings at the beginning there, which sounds incredibly ominous, sounds incredibly ominous. And you have that alongside the palm muted kind of steel string guitars. They're offering a bluesy kind of cadence to it. This track remains minor key throughout for obvious reasons. It'd be very weird if this was in a major key. It's a piece where we have a balancing of the bass and drum tones with a kind of a very rustic feel to it, which I think reflects the aesthetic of what the music video itself is offering with the forest and running through it and all that. I feel like it's just really well considered. And there's like a crispiness to those guitar takes as well on the sides of the stereo field where they're there's a bit of edge to them. But it's also not too aggressive. Again, we're not trying to be too on the nose about it. Maybe not trying to give the person listening that satisfaction of being affected too much. I feel like the way we strum those chords when we do have those extensions there with some da-da-da-dun, we might be working with sevenths, I think, some minor sevenths chords, or even some dominant sevenths occasionally. It's just great coloring of the harmonies. But a lot of that comes from the instrumental choice, how you affect the tone of them via the amp choices and the guitar takes there. I think kind of having these with a much sadder kind of like slightly crispy kind of like clean tone is it's a weirdly soothing choice. But like when the drums come in and the hi-hat and kicks and the snare just have this fantastic presence within the mix without being too much, it just kind of cuts at you a little bit. The lead parts that we have with any sort of bends or hammer-ons or pull-offs or slides they're notched within the frequency spectrum to not interfere with the low end too much, so stuff's leveled there as well tonally. And things get fuller with a really thick kind of like bass tone with a lot of heft to it because of the space that's been provided both with the post-production, but also because there is enough space within the stereo field for it, and also simply because of the way it extends those root notes of those main chords. There's a kind of a boxiness to the drums as well, like they've been room recorded there with the compression overall, like the actual room mic's been included in there, and it kind of makes it sound just a little bit claustrophobic without being too much. Even when we have sort of like fills, such as around the 3-minute 20 part there, like they kind of sound boxed in and a little bit kind of like tight, and I like how it kind of rides and pushes around a little bit. It's just the way the instruments are put forward as well that's really cool. And we also mix up the main sort of 4 rhythms of quarters, 8s, triplets, and 16ths on the kit there, in a way where rhythmically it's very satisfying. But I also think I want to sort of talk about one more element today. I think I will discuss the structure of it. I feel like as we go through the song, it's a bit of a slow burn. There are not constant attempts to kind of catch our attention or kind of slap us to one side or the other. We are put in a position where we are listening to a very sort of intimate story from Vyvyan Hammond. And I think that that's the sensible choice here. They elicit an immediate understanding of what we're going to go into, and either you're going to like it or you're not. I don't think many people will necessarily enjoy hearing this story because of the content, but it's still, it's not in the sense that it's not that it's done badly, it's just sometimes this stuff can be hard to listen to. But I think that a lot of the decisions made with the instrumental performance, the choice of chords and harmonies and bass drums, like there's enough change in the instrumental layering development there, and variety with some of those subleads and stuff like that to pique listeners' attention throughout and encourage them to continue. When you get to that point in the late stage of the track and you're really kind of like comfortable with that chorus and theme, I was thinking, wow, okay, we've had a really great song so far, how are we going to finish? And then I heard that extra little go of the hook at the end. I was like, I don't know, we might need to add more. But at the moment that I thought we were going to add more, they changed it up, and that's a masterstroke. Like to be able to sort of like telegraph exactly when the average listener is going to be able to sort of, even if they're patient, is going to go, no, we've had enough of this idea, we need to switch it up to either extend or add space, or like maybe like have the lyrics take a break for a moment to allow an instrumental component to come in. It's just really cool. It's just really fun. It's really fun because it just shows such a polish in terms of songwriting to know that limit, that position to adjust. Especially at the end, we're not going to get a big finish with a song like this because, as you know, where are we going with this? We're going towards acceptance. I don't know how we would resolve this story. It's a tricky one. But that big finish with the chords kind of like dying out like that, with the drums and everything like that, with the kind of, again, the bluesy overtone the entire time is just so appropriate. And I just think just building ourselves up to that, it's kind of like the sad ending in a horror film. But I think ultimately we do just enough to not distract from the main story, with the vocals being the focal point. The tempo being consistent just because of a really sort of solid performance on the percussion, the guitars and drums, and again, the extra elements like the cello and stuff initially, just for more of a sort of like mood device. And like really interesting chord choices, a closing note with some kind of like backwards and forwards between different chords. Boom, boom, boom. It's just, we've got it sus. So ultimately, I feel for me, the highlights were the vocal performance as well as the structure of it, and also like the overall thematic or harmonic devices present with the guitars, as well as the other instruments. It was the tones, the structure, and the vocals. I think an honest sort of like special mention goes to the studio production as well, which is like commercial grade for the style of music. I'm really stoked with it. We could have potentially have taken a little bit of high end off of the vocals. There was like a resonant frequency in the high end which could have been notched a little bit. It was just maybe a little bit too bright, but that could have also been a stylistic choice. There's nothing in here that I feel would need to be adjusted or changed. I feel like it's just a really solid all-rounder track there with clear intent and really efficient implementation. From just a general listening perspective, I feel incredibly sad for what Vyvyan Hammond has had to go through. It's but I appreciate that they've been able to open up about their experience and sort of show it to the world. And I genuinely feel that they deserve more attention, and I hope that they find success with their music. Because thank you for watching my review of this track from an actor named Vyvyan Hammond, titled Hunter Gathered. Hunter Gathered. Oh, right. And it's about kind of like finding your power after having gone through this. I've just clicked to that. So if you've been watching through this going, no, there's more to it at the end, finding yourself after going through this and trying to get your own life back. Okay, hunter gathered. I just got it. Took too long. But thank you for watching my review of this track from an act named Vyvyan Hammond titled Hunter Gathered. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.